Maegor Targaryen was the third ruler of the Targaryen dynasty. Some people go around saying, oh my gosh, Maegor was the worst, Maegor was cruel, and I try to rebuttal them, try to give a counterpoint. But there is one thing I can never deny. You can tell the character of a person based on how they treat their domestic partner. Or anyone in general, how you treat people in your everyday life, but it's different when it is your partner in life. Let's look at each of these relationships and see if that explains why some people call Maegor the Cruel. His first wife was Cersei Hightower, and at the time of marriage, she was just a young woman in her early 20s while Maegor was only 13 years old. And this was a highly political marriage. As you see, her last name was Hightower. House Hightower controls Old Town. What is in Old Town? The Starry Sept. The Starry Sept is the home of the Faith of the Seven, which makes you wonder who is really running House Hightower. On their wedding night, Maegor claimed they did it every way but sideways. But after years and years of trying, she was never able to become pregnant. While Prince Maegor's older half-brother was out here having child after child after child, Maegor still didn't have an heir. And Prince Maegor ran off with his second wife, but when he came back to claim the Iron Throne, he claimed his first wife again. But sometime after the completion of the Red Keep, she just kept expressing her opinions, and Maegor did not like that and demanded one of his Kingsguard to remove her tongue. At least that's what the rumors say, and while they tried to do it, they accidentally slit her throat. Now, did her death happen that way? Maybe, but we do know she did die while Maegor was king of the Seven Kingdoms. Alicent Harroway was the second wife of Maegor Targaryen, and she had a tragic ending. Her father, Lucas Harroway, thought it would be a great idea to marry her daughter to the prince, a man who was not initially in the direct line of succession and who already had a wife. And due to this marriage, Maegor and his wife right here, at least the second one, they ran all the way over to Essos. When Maegor came back and claimed the throne, she was on easy street. All she had to do was produce an heir for the king. And she got pregnant. Her sisters were taking care of her. Her sister wives were taking care of her. All her handmaidens were taking care of her. Things were going good until it wasn't. A few months in, she tragically gave birth to a stillborn child. As Targaryen pregnancies sometimes go, the child came out looking twisted, looking crazy. Everybody was like, oh my goodness. So Maegor's third wife came up with an allegation that this young lady behind me had been cheating on the king with at least 20 different dudes. Maegor and his third wife had each of those individuals tortured, and at least 18 of them admitted like, hey, yeah, I did sleep with her. Were they telling the truth, or were they being tortured and just said what they had to say to end their misery? Sadly, Maegor believed all the rumors and had every individual of House Harroway killed. Then had Alicent Harroway tortured and then had her body cut up into 7 pieces. Not the coolest, not the coolest. And before Maegor was king and was exiled in Essos due to taking on a second wife, he met this lady behind me, Tyenna of the Tower, who he took to be his third. She had all the magic, the dark, the light, and everything in between, and I suspect that she's the reason Maegor came back from the dead a little different. That's a story for another day. She served on her husband's, the king's council, as the mistress of whispers, thus technically breaking the glass ceiling. But after Maegor's second child was born and stillborn and had major deformities, questions were being asked, and they asked the lady behind me because they know she had that dark magic. Maegor would go to kill her with the sword Blackfire, but before he did, he had her severely tortured, using the same techniques that he saw his third wife behind me use on other people. She admitted to poisoning 2 of her other sister wives, causing the babies they were carrying to be born with such deformities. But I don't believe she poisoned those women. I think Maegor, being a Targaryen, something was off about him already. Targaryens typically do have from time to time dragon-human hybrid stillbirths. Because even after they had Tyenna of the Tower executed, Maegor's children were stillborn with huge deformities. This man Maegor wanted an heir so bad, he married all 3 of the women over here all at the same time on the same day. Some kind of wanted to be there to help their families out. The others, they were just forced. They were forced. At this point, Maegor just needed 3 women who he knew were first. Here we have one of the Black Brides known as Eleanor Costane. She already had 3 children and she was married until all of a sudden her husband was accused of treason. He was executed. She was given 7 days to mourn before being one of the 3 women forced to marry Maegor. But after her husband King fell, she started preaching that gospel and found religion. Then we have Jane Westerling. After losing her husband, she soon gave birth to their son. Since she was fertile, Maegor said, why don't you come right on over here and be one of the 3 women I marry on the same day. She would sadly go on to get pregnant and give birth to another Maegor stillborn that had severe deformity with dragon wings on their back, and she sadly passed away a few months after that. This one might be a little complicated, but this is Rhaena Targaryen, the niece of Maegor and one of his wives. She was one of the 3 women married on the same day to the king, for political reasons, to use her claim to strengthen Maegor's and to make sure her younger brother, who was down in Storm's End amassing an army, would kind of stay away because he knew, hey, I got your sister up here, you better not act up. For her and her children, she was able to escape Maegor's grasp and save her children from her first husband, who was tragically killed by Maegor himself. It's crazy to look at Maegor's reign and realize that only 2 of the 6 wives survived his rule. Y'all let me know, how does this influence how y'all feel about Maegor, the man, the myth, the king himself?